There we go. Welcome. Welcome back to the, excuse me, this April episode of Between Two Teachers. I'm Madeline Cronenberg.
And I'm Consuelo Lara.
And here we are once again from the sacred land of the Chochenyo Karkin Ohlone people. And I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. We pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral lands of the Ohlone, Muwekma Ohlone, and Chochenyo Karkin Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. That's our salute and tribute to the founding people of the Bay Area. We're going to talk about what's going on in education. That is what we do here. And the biggest news, of course, is around reopening. And reopening as an issue is a really all-consuming issue in the whole world, everywhere, certainly in California. California is doing extremely well in terms of vaccinating, and the movement forward is very strong, but it's still tense. Districts, because we have 1,000 school districts, over 1,000 that are making the decisions are being made. There's no one right way to do it. And the consequence of that is that there are many tensions as people compare what's going on in one place to another place. So that's happening. And in terms of who's going to, there are districts that are totally reopened. There are districts that are totally in distance learning. And that's sort of the landscape of California right now. And we're at this point in April, hoping that everybody will be able to reopen in the fall in one way. Really, hopefully that we'll be past the vaccinating the entire state. And the governor has told us this week that June 15th, the state will reopen, will be open for business. And if that's true, then that would mean the schools would be included in that. So that's the big news that California has had. The other interesting news has been around testing. California got a waiver from the feds, such as it was, and they're able to. I read an article that talked about that this is the year for test light. Testing isn't gone, but they're at test light, so they don't have to have the same rigorous testing they've had before. They're able to use local assessments, and those assessments are much more strategic and are helpful, really are what we should be doing anyhow, right? Which we've talked about before. When we look at updates and things that need to be changed in education, testing is a giant one. And if it weren't for coronavirus, it would be the top of the list, but coronavirus knocked everybody off the list. And but testing is back up there. So California has local assessments as an option to Smarter Balanced, and the feds have given us the opportunity to do that. And next thing I wanted to mention that's been newsworthy is substitutes. Now, we've talked about substitutes a little bit, and substitutes are really important. The districts, especially the districts that are not coming back, that are staying in distance learning, like Antioch, Contra Costa County, Antioch just raised its subpay because they are going to work with hubs, which we've also talked about. And hubs are a major part of how the school districts that are continuing with distance learning in different formats are serving all of their children, including West Contra Costa. So what that means is you need additional staffing. And what they're really looking for are people who are certificated or who can become subs. And Antioch just raised their subpay to $250 a day. West Contra Costa is $135. Now, where would you go to work?
Wow, exactly. Exactly.
That's a huge issue. So subpay has gone way up, and it certainly deserves to be much higher than it is. And the 250 is still, I think, less than what subpay should be. But there is really a movement now around it, because suddenly there really is a crisis among who's available for subs. And in certain places in Southern California, the parents have organized, and they have organized to become subs, so that their districts are able to open. So that's a whole new thing. I had never seen that before, but there's a whole organization from local parents to become subs, to be able to support as a way to support the district being able to reopen.
That's funny. Now that they've had experience teaching at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
I've posted on our link page, our Trello page. You can read about that. You can read the whole West Contra Costa conversation. West Contra Costa's got a more complicated schedule in terms of how they're going back, but there is the opportunity for students to go back. And so they have intervention time for students that need additional support, but there's also time for social emotional connections and an enrichment time. And I've linked to the Radio Free Richmond. I'll give him a shout out to Radio Free Richmond. Mr. Gosney wrote a great article and linked to everything. And his explanation, I think, was the most complete. So shout out to Mr. Gosney and to the board, because they're now getting ready. So they're not going back this week. They're coming back from their break this week. And on the 19th, they'll begin the new system that they're putting in. And then, so that's locally with the school district, but now you know what's going locally with the county.
Yes, with the county. I wish I could tell you all these great programs and school activity that's going on around reopening, but for some reason the oxygen in the room is taken up by the role of the board, and it's just crazy. But anyway, so we had a great meeting on our goals, to put together our goals review, and it was 3 hours. And we were able to go through these goals that they had previously. And I can see now, because your goals, your missions, that's kind of your foundation, right? It's your foundation. So now I can see why they're just all over the place, because they don't have those in place that are really, they're not student oriented, for one thing. They weren't, just a couple of them. So they were so involved in, I guess, their own position and their own sense of power. So, but we were able to go over those. And
so is there a mission? Did you review a mission statement at all, or no?
Let's see. Okay, I think they did, it looks like they didn't change it. So it says our mission, this was what's funny. What I was told was they did the goals, and then afterwards the staff put together the plan and the mission. And that's backwards. That's a little backwards. So anyway, the mission so far is the Contra Costa County Office of Education promotes success in learning and life through quality leadership programs and services. So kind of
okay,
just vague.
Okay.
But okay. And then it talks about the values. And there used to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8. Now there's just, about 6. So they've cut it down a little bit, but student achievement, create healthy schools, quality customer service. I don't know why that's there. We're not a business. Quality and equity and values and inclusion, high standards, workplace wellness. So we didn't talk about those. Those were not the ones that we discussed.
It seems like there's 2 sets of values. One is focused internally among your workforce, right? The values that you have as an employer towards your workforce. But then as an elected board, there maybe should be another set of values
I don't know. I don't
that are
know.
more student focused.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, with well, there's the mission, then there's the values, and then there's the priorities. And
Oh,
so so that's another one. Priorities are student achievement, educational equity, organizational wellness, and district support. Now, those I like. Those are good. Those are very good. And then how you define them, I think that's the next part that we need to go on. And then there's another piece. There's something called norms and protocols, and how we, I guess, how we behave. But to me, the stickler is so much being discussed about the role. What is the role of superintendent? What is the role of the board?
right.
I think where all that comes from is that there was at some time a lot of animosity and power struggle between the two. Who does what, etc. And it must have gone on for years and years, because that's about all this is. It's not about student programs, student focus, student achievement. It's not that. And supporting, I like that one piece, supporting school districts and schools. I want to know that, and that's what we should be about. And in looking at other counties, you don't see all of that talk about the role this and the role that. It was just overkill, or it just really came out. It really came out. So it was a little bit disappointing, but there was some work that was done, I think, and we did.
And you're going to continue on, right?
We are. Now,
right?
Here's another big discussion we have, and I hope who's ever listening will give us some feedback about whether it's important to record our meetings. So apparently, yes, our main board meetings are always recorded, but subcommittee or committees and special meetings, and those are not. They're just not. So I think anytime the board comes together, we should be recorded, because you never know. And those special
They're
meetings.
Brown Act meetings, right? They're public Brown Act meetings. And it would seem to me, I mean, especially in this day of Zoom, where recording is the matter of pushing a button, that not recording is really choosing to shut a lot of the public out. I mean, I just really think it's so much easier to record it, because in fact, members of the public can choose to record it and then disseminate it however they want. It's a public meeting, and it's not a difficult thing to record something on a screen that you're watching. You just have to Google how to record it and you're done.
Yeah, and I guess one thing they have done is they can record and then they just store it. If somebody requests it, then
That's a lot of extra work. So you have to do a Freedom of Information Act request if you want to watch, if you miss a meeting and want to watch it. That's what we're talking about.
See, I just don't get that. I think every meeting, anytime the 5 of us get together, it has to be recorded and it has to be posted easily accessible by our constituents. So I do understand, and they're saying something like, don't get used to it, because once we get in person, then it's too hard and we can't do it. Well, I'm gonna look into that too. I mean, okay, so, but it's important. Let's weigh those,
Right.
the difficulty of that and the necessity or the importance of it. So
So you have another meeting coming up, a follow-up meeting to the one that you just had.
yeah, we don't have a date for that yet, but we do need to get more specific, because we actually did throw out some of those ones that I was talking about that just say the role, responsibility. We said, just get rid of it. So that was nice. That was nice. Yeah. We just got rid of. So yeah, they do need to work. Oh, and some to be added. And the one we want to add is one that really focuses on all students, and their performance and their success in the future, that kind of thing. So we're looking forward to that as a follow-up. And again, I encourage people to request to see the meeting and also be able to have it recorded. And I encourage people to record it themselves and post it wherever you like, and YouTube or, your Facebook pages, because it is important. The county does really do a lot of really good. We've got amazing programs. It's almost like they're kept a secret, and we did talk a little bit about CTE and different programs that we want to expand and enhance. So that's the kind of discussions I'm hoping that we'll have more of and get input from individuals. So,
right. And then let the public know that they exist, right? That's the other part of it.
Yeah. I wonder if one district knows about the programs that are in another district.
Well, certainly the district leaders might know, but the community members don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of what I think.
Yeah. And that's a good thing that the county could be doing, is boasting about those programs so everyone knows. We've got such great stuff going on. We should not be hiding it. And so that was the big thing that was going on. And then we have our next meeting on the 21st, our board meeting. I don't think there's another before that.
And maybe you'll reschedule the second half of this meeting sooner.
Yeah. And we also have another charter school meeting coming up on the 26th at 12 o'clock, our charter committee. Oh, I know what. We had our charter committee meeting, and for some members, the internet was not good. So we got to reschedule. So we'll do that. And what else? Well, just in the community, there's a big push. I also serve on the Concilio Latino, and there is such a push right now with the vaccinations,
right?
Because there's so many communities that are not getting it at the same rate as others are. So we're really pushing for that in the community, San Pablo, Richmond, and so I just wanted to talk about that and give a shout out. I have to shout out to my friend Genoveva Calloway. She's really
absolutely.
She was so active back in November. She caught it.
Right.
So she's been through it, and I just want to shout out she's bringing people together from both counties, Alameda and Contra Costa, about this issue. I mean, she's amazing. So that's just another thing going on, and it affects our schools. The sooner we get all those vaccinations, sooner things are going to be better in our schools.
That's right. Right. And honestly, the sooner now, if they reduce it down to 12, that's going to make a big difference. And all of the children in our high schools will be vaccinated. They're talking about that with Pfizer. If we get to that, where that happens, and then children who are maybe even younger. But that's where the solution is for all of this, right?
Get vaccinated and get your friends and neighbors.
Yeah, get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. So we have had. The other thing that's happening, the way people are addressing it, the parents, there are more and more parent groups that are forming, and they're forming out of activist parents, they're calling themselves, and they're suing. They're suing different districts all the way up and down the state to demand full reopening. And hopefully that's going to become moot, and because of the vaccinations, we'll be able to, it will happen, right? And that the teachers and the union leaders and the school boards are not in opposition to the parents. They're operating, trying to protect people. That's what the intent is on their behalf. And the parents are operating on the intent of trying to serve their children. And that's what is the crisis that we have here. And so hopefully that there's one, the West Contra Costa had one. They haven't sued as far as I know, but they have been an active group. There's a number in San Francisco. The San Francisco has several lawsuits that are floating around right now. And then there's a Save Our Schools, Open California Schools. That's also done. So there's a lot of North County parents in San Diego. They've been very active. They've filed lawsuits. There's a number of different lawsuits that are floating around right now. And the thing about the lawsuits is they usually take a while to be processed. And there's really a very short time before school is out for the year anyhow. So that's another, that's why either it has to be expedited, and what needs to happen is there needs to be attention given to it. One of the big ones that's happened is Natomas filed a Unfair Labor Practices Act, again, a complaint against their school board, just in terms of how their process went, which has now been resolved, and they've agreed to go back. And the real thing is which teachers are able to go back, has opt-in, and what districts are ordering their staff back in. Right, that's really where the power shift is. I mean, can staff be ordered in, or can staff opt in, just like the parents? So that's happened. The other two big updates I have are, I talked here about Vince Matthews, who is the superintendent of San Francisco. He announced on Twitter a couple of weeks ago that he was retiring at the end of the year. And so they were going to go into a search for a new superintendent. And this week he rescinded or postponed his retirement for a year. So he is back because San Francisco, one of the things apparently he said was that it's too late to begin a search. People have started their searches earlier. Like West Contra Costa has I believe an announcement regarding their superintendent search at their next board meeting on Wednesday. And I'm sure many others, that it's a big business. This is the time you make those kinds of announcements. The process has moved forward with many districts for changing who their leadership is. And so anyway, Dr. Matthews is staying with San Francisco for another year and writing that out. They have recalls, they have board members suing other board members, they have the crisis around the school renaming issues that they had. They had a lot of high profile issues that were contentious and that have taken them, that are a distraction to them really reopening their schools and serving their kids. So good for him. The Oakley has now got a complete local school board, right? So good for them. You are no longer, and neither are the other county school board members serving on Oakley. Oakley has had a number of people apply, and so you have a whole set of a complete local school board in Oakley that's going to move forward and serve the Oakley community. So that's been handled. And the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give, we have all of our list of take actions. We still need to do all of them, and the links to that are on the Trello page, right? The ones around the Cal RTA, the famous ones to try to get people to come in and not lose their Social Security payments, becoming an arts champion, all the issues around supporting the arts, and the CTA Action Center really around looking at how we eliminate high stakes testing and support our children by having testing be something that supports you in learning rather than punishes you for not learning, which is what we have. So all of those are issues that are very much out and need support in activism. And then for a final shout out, my shout out is to Contra Costa County Health Department, because they have now vaccinated over 50% of the county. Over 50% have gotten at least one, and 33% of Contra Costa has gotten both vaccinations, are fully vaccinated. And they actually are the lead county in the state of California. And now they are helping Alameda run the Oakland Coliseum one.
Oh, wow.
So I am really hopeful that if we get it reduced down to 12 years old, that the children in Contra Costa County will get vaccinated, because they have been so extraordinary in their ability to put it together, right? And I've had friends who've told me their family members in Santa Clara Valley you live in Santa Clara and you're under 50 and you're trying to get, they reduced it so you can try to get a vaccine, but the vaccines aren't available. The website's not working. And they're doing things like driving to Tulare where there are vaccines. I mean, it's a very strange thing. Whereas in Contra Costa, you can get an appointment the next day. So everything is uneven, right? And they have to do the outreach to communities that are underserved, but even our typically vulnerable underserved communities in Contra Costa are way ahead of the communities in other counties.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, wasn't it Marin? Marin is way ahead of everybody. The Marin,
Well, Marin's always, that's right.
we know that.
Right. Right.
But we're moving. I think we're moving.
But they didn't have, our numbers actually were higher than Marin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a health department. We had a different setup as far as our health department that's helped us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have that's my shout out for the week to Contra Costa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all everybody who's working so hard in this area. So
right. And the other one, I wanted to give a shout out to all the people who applied to be on the school board in Oakley. I think that was, these are brave. Yes. They've got 5 folks that made it, but then everybody who really made the effort to get on that board, I think deserves a shout out.
Yes, it's a great little community there. They just really are dedicated. And it was very positive. It was all positive,
Right. Right. They had their 15 minutes of fame, right? So now when you Google it.
Yeah. Now they're moving on.
They're a learning lesson for everybody who has a who has a training as a newly elected person, right?
Yes. There could be a hot mic.
Yes, there could be a hot mic.
The hot mic.
So we're ready for our chuckle from Carlos.
Oh yes, we are. We are ready. And of course, very timely the way he is. Madeline, do you know how to organize a party for Earth Day?
No, Consuelo. How do you organize a party for Earth Day?
You plan it.
There he is. That's our Earth Day celebration. And I also want to give a shout out to our birthday girl. You are the big birthday girl today. So happy birthday.
Today's my birthday. Yes.
And we'll see everybody again soon.
See you all soon. Thanks.